Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm trying out a new facial hair styling for St. Patrick's Day and then getting rid of it after. If you're new here, my name is Jordan Stephan and this channel is about a lot of different things, but one of the main ones is like sort of photography and filmmaking. So kind of along those lines is something I've been doing since the pandemic started just about exactly 1 year ago. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a bartender by trade. And what's one of the things that pretty much went away when the pandemic hit? Well, that was indoor dining and bars being open and all that. Maybe not in your state, but in California for most of 2020, even now, bartending isn't so much a thing anymore. So me and my other, fellow bartenders were like, what can we do using our skills and knowledge to sort of entertain and educate people, but do it in a way that's safe, not a bunch of us gathered around in a studio setting. So we decided to do live streams, fully produced live streams, but have me as the producer be fully remote. So at the time, there's a lot more out there now on this topic. You may have watched a few videos already if you're here, but like trying to figure out how to do all of this took a lot of trial and error, and there just wasn't that much information out at the time. So I thought it was worthwhile sharing with you kind of the steps I had to take to enable me to take guests and hosts of the show in another physical location, bring them all together, and then broadcast that to the world. I'm gonna hop over to the computer and kind of walk you through the software I used and sort of how to configure everything. So let's take a look at that. Softwares you see on the screen right now. On the left-hand side, this is OBS. OBS is an open broadcasting software. It's a free piece of software. You can get it by going to obsproject.com. You've got Windows, Mac, and Linux right there. You can freely download it. But this is basically the hub, the brains of live broadcasting experience. You take all of your inputs. You take all your inputs, your mics, your screen captures, your web browsers, audio, pictures, everything, graphics, and you put that into OBS, and then it takes all that and you build your scene out, and then you broadcast that to the internet, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Restream, which is a really cool service that allows you to stream to many places all at once. It's a paid service, but we've used that a lot. But that's basically what OBS is used for. And then we also used Zoom. Now, of course, 2020, the year of Zoom, everyone was talking about Zoom. Everyone had to work through Zoom. There's a million like virtual meeting type softwares, video conferencing softwares. Skype is, of course, the classic example. My team ended up using Zoom, and so I'll be talking about Zoom today. So as far as like how to use OBS, this isn't really like a beginner how to use OBS tutorial. It's more just like how I used it and how I made it work in my scenario, my setup. So if you want like a overall kind of like intro to Zoom, I would suggest looking up, by this time, a million videos on Facebook kind of teaching you how to use OBS. But essentially, you've got a few things here. You've got scenes all the way over here on the left, and then sources are all the things that feed into the scene. So scenes you can think of as scenes in a movie or a TV show. So I'll just show you one of the shows I do is Wine Talk with Tesh. I'll put links down below to this too. So I do Wine Talk with Tesh. We do that remotely like this, and then I also do It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere with the Fluid Concepts crew. And I do these both the same way, where I'm basically utilizing this setup to bring them in over Zoom and then broadcast that to all of the streaming services. That way we can all stay apart and safe and all that during the pandemic. But thankfully, we should all be vaccinated very soon. So I'm just going to show you, because I've got Tesh's scenes kind of loaded up here. I'll show you kind of what we do. So essentially, you can click through the scenes here. I'm using studio mode. So if I click that, you'll see this is what I'm looking at. Studio mode gives you like a preview and a program. Program is what's actually happening. That's what's recording. That's what you're seeing right now. That's what would be going out live if we were live streaming this. Studio mode is really nice because it allows you to like adjust things, move stuff around. Like I could do that, which I'm not going to, but I could move stuff around, and over here on the right hand side in the program monitor, you're not seeing that until I hit transition or cut or any of these transitions over in the center here, versus studio mode. And you'll see this since you're watching the active recording that's coming out of OBS right now. If I move something around, it moves in the stream or this recording. So studio mode is nice because it lets you kind of play around and not commit to your changes right away. So basically how I would run a show is I would start with this sort of intro screen. For my sources here, I have got a graphic, which I just brought in from Photoshop. This is just a PNG, and I can hide and unhide with the little eyeball icon. If you ever use Photoshop, it's a very similar icon. But basically, I've got this full screen graphic that comes from Photoshop, and then I've got this audio file down below, and that can be controlled right here using the replay or stop buttons. And basically what we do is we load that up, get that song playing, and then we start streaming. And that's sort of a lobby, a waiting room, where everyone can sort of join in the stream and kind of cue everything until we're ready to go live. Rather than if you go live, everyone's notifications go out on the multiple different platforms, and it's going to take a minute or so for everyone to kind of get there. So if you go live and just start talking or delivering your content right away, a lot of people are going to miss out on that. So we like to sort of start with a sort of waiting room like that. When we're ready to go live, we switch over to the main screen, which I'll show you how this works. So I've got the Zoom window right there. That's one of my inputs, and that's actually, you can see here, it's bringing in the Zoom, which is right here. This is Zoom on the computer right here, if you can see the arrow. And it's bringing that into here. Of course, it's cropped, but that's basically how we do it. So now that we've seen how that's done, and you can see we've got some overlay graphics, Wine Talk with Tesh, the graphics, everything like that. If I want to put up a map, I can do that. I can put up photos of the different wine bottles, the name of the wine, all that. That's how we do that. But I want to show you kind of how we kind of assemble that here. So I've got a little demo scene started, and I'm going to go ahead into the sources area and hit the plus sign. And I'm going to bring in a display capture. There is window capture, and I'll show you the difference here. Window capture, it's going to ask you what window, and I can come down to the Zoom meeting. If you're on Mac, it's this title right here, Zoom meeting. That's what it's going to bring in. And I can hit OK, and you could probably already tell this right now by looking at my screen recording on the right, which is live, right? And then my display capture on the left here, which is, or my window capture, rather. And there's a delay. There's definitely a delay between my movements and my, and so you're going to get a delay in the audio and the video, and it's just really at an unacceptable level. And there are offsets you can play with the audio and stuff, but what we ended up doing, and this is inconvenient, especially with one monitor, I would definitely recommend, if you're gonna do this kind of setup and you don't have a big screen. I have a 27-inch monitor, which is just about big enough to like pull this off. Not ideal. I would recommend 2 screens. If you're on a laptop, you're gonna need another monitor to really do this efficiently. So the window capture, because it's all software based, it's laggy. There's a discernible lag here. So I'm going to delete that. Instead, what I'm going to add is a display capture. Now, display capture actually uses the entire window, as you can see here. We're getting into some like display inception here, but basically what I'll do is I will crop it to a window, and then I'll choose that same Zoom meeting over here. However, now it's coming in, it's actually just taking a section of the screen and recording it straight into OBS rather than processing it as a window and then bringing in. And you can probably tell already, just looking at this preview over here, that there's like no delay. Like I am real time. What you're seeing on my whole screen versus this, it's like real time. The only downside, of course, is that if I move anything in front of it, you're going to see that in the broadcast. And, you know, so that is why having two monitors would really help out, because you could just have one monitor just for your Zoom call and just nothing else goes over there, just the Zoom call. But that said, to get this sort of in here, I'm going to go down to right click and transform and fit to screen. So that's the Zoom window right there. Now, if you looked earlier, I showed you this is kind of what it looks like with the Wine Talk with Tesh. So it's really easy to sort of crop this image and resize it. You know, resizing, as simple as that. So I might resize it until it takes up most of the screen, but you've still got this Zoom interface. So if you hold down Option, you can actually drag in and just get rid of that. So now you've got this pure video, and you can put frames around it. You can, you know, move it over and add another window next to it, all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, how we produce, you know. For the Wine Talk with Tesh, I have Tesh call me on Zoom over here on the right in the Zoom call, and I'll, you know, take his video feed from here and put it into OBS like this, and then I just simply add graphics on top like that. So that's essentially how we do it. If there are multiple people coming in through Zoom and using this method, it gets a little tricky. I don't have another caller right now, so I can't really show you, but you end up essentially creating two display captures and then cropping each one to the individual Zoom caller. Where it gets interesting is if someone leaves the Zoom call, it's going to completely mess up everything, and Zoom has a tendency, if a caller rejoins, say their connection gets interrupted, that they end up in a different location in the Zoom window, and then everything's sort of messed up. But when we're doing single source calls like this, where it's just one Zoom call, it's got whoever my remote host is, it works really well just to crop in and capture the Zoom call like this. So that's essentially how I do it. I mean, like I said, if you're looking for an in-depth OBS tutorial, you know, how to set up your streaming and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of really great videos out on YouTube. I would just search OBS to YouTube live stream or whatever like that. There's a lot of good like blog posts that tell you about streaming bitrate and all that. If you actually go on like YouTube's help page and Facebook's help page, things like that, you'll actually get what you need as far as bit rates and aspect or video resolutions and all that. Like Facebook max resolution for a smaller streamer, I think someone that's like under 10,000 or something like that, like you max out at 720p. YouTube, you can do 1080. So things like that. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to kind of make this video and kind of show you how I do these streams, because I think this is something that no one was really doing it exactly like this, and we had a lot of different input from various people on like how they're doing it. I you know, one guy, you know, he's very helpful in introducing us to OBS and how it all works, but for each video input he was using a separate computer, which I guess works, you know, that works, but how many people have 3 different computers for 3 different guests on a video call? So I just thought I'd show you how we managed to do it with very little budget. You know, just bringing it on Zoom, put it over to OBS, a free software, and then stream it on YouTube or Facebook, or restream if you want it in multiple places at once. All right, guys, that's all I have for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It really helps out kind of showing this video to new audiences other than people that are already subscribed here. And speaking of that, if you're not subscribed, if you like this sort of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified when I post new videos, which in 2021 my plan is to do a lot more, whether it's film, photography, production like this related, and with a little bit of personal finance sprinkled in, because a lot of us are doing stuff like this as sort of an entrepreneurial venture, and like business is important in that you can't just make the art, you have to have sort of that business side too. So I'm going to sprinkle in some personal finance throughout the year. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I kind of covered a lot and glossed over a bunch. Like I said, there's a lot of other tutorials out there, but if you do have specific questions or want me to go in depth in a future video on certain topics, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll definitely do that. All right, until next time,